Hi all! Everything in my video is pulled from the public domain, and I am using them under the Fair Use, Fair Dealings guidelines. Everything I say is my own opinion. You should look into this information for yourselves, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. Good morning, everybody. All right, we have a lot of information because the real working royals have been out and about. There's lots going on. And then, of course, we had a new podcast drop. And, of course, we have another speaking engagement that showed up. There's a lot, plus some updates for you guys, okay? So let's just get in there, and shall we? Let's go. We're starting off with the news we've already heard about, that Liz Truss formally resigned as the British Prime Minister. King Charles had an audience with her this morning where he accepted her resignation. And then later on that day, in the 1884 room at Buckingham Palace, King Charles then did the kissing of the hand ceremony. You remember I showed you that with the Queen before she passed. And he asked Rishi Sunak, I hope I'm saying that right, to become the second Prime Minister of his reign and form a government on his behalf. Now, for those of you who are unaware, the new Prime Minister has a net worth of £730 million, which makes him more wealthy than King Charles. Wow. This gentleman is the first Prime Minister of South Asian descent. And the first thing he did was take an axe to 11 cabinet members. They've lost their jobs. Several others have resigned, and he's going to go ahead and form new cabinet this afternoon, or at least that's what's being reported. All right, Prince Charles also met at Buckingham Palace with, he's called His All Holiness Bartholomew I, which he was the ecumenical patriarch. Interesting. All right, next up, I showed you the other day where Beatrice went to a movie with some friends about dyslexia because that's one of her things that's close to her heart because she has dyslexia. Well, several royal commentators came out and said that she didn't even stay for the whole movie. She left early. That's incorrect. If you look at the picture behind her, she took a picture in front of the closing credits. God, people will just say anything. Moving on. Next up, the Duke of Gloucester, His Royal Highness, went to meet up with the Houston Habitat and the Restore. We have something like that here in the United States, the Habitat for Humanity, where people volunteer to build houses for people that otherwise wouldn't be able to afford them. Very nice. Next up, Queen Camilla flew British Airways and she traveled to Bengaluru on a private visit for her first overseas tour. And then she traveled 40 kilometers from the airport to a place called Sequoia, which is a holistic health and wellness center near Whitfield. She's undergoing rejuvenation therapy during her almost 10-day visit. She was accompanied by a few friends, escorted by members of royalty and specialty protection, and there were strict instructions not to publicize her trip because it was a private trip, but of course it got publicized anyway. There are no public engagements. There's no interactions with the people there. There's a holistic physician there, and she's basically just going, let's face it, she's been under a lot of stress. Camilla has been to this place back in 2010 when she visited for the first time, and she's made 8 visits so far, and I guess that's just the place she likes to go and feel rejuvenated. Good for her. Well done. Go enjoy your time with your friends and away from the spotlight. Moving on. All right, this was on Twitter, put up by Madam Overseas Back Fat. And it was just so well done, I have to show it to you. This is how you lose a husband in your new PR push. Not only do you not mention his name, he's no longer on the cover of any magazines. Everything is all about you now, and you don't even wear your rings in the photos. And that's how you lose a husband. Exactly. All right, here we go. For the first time ever in Parliament, it's been brought up about Harry and Andrew's role as counselors of state in the event that something should happen to Charles. They're brought up and discussed about because, as they said, Andrew no longer does royal duty, and Harry no longer even lives in the country. I do believe that is why Harry has a home at Frogmore, because he's trying to say that he still has a foot inside the door. Of course, we all know better than that. So Parliament brought it up, and what they're asking for is that the Regency Act of 1937 be amended and that Andrew and Harry be removed. I think that's a perfectly reasonable thing to do, because you should be a working royal if you're going to be a counselor of state. That's what they're saying. All right, moving on. On the Deal or No Deal, where Meghan said she was only in like 38 episodes and they filmed 3 episodes a day. She lasted, 3 weeks? Well, of course, now it's coming out that supposedly she was gotten rid of because she was flirting with Howie Mandel. That's what's being reported. That doesn't surprise me at all. Moving on. All right, next up, this is just a perfect example as to why Harry and Meghan can't be trusted, because they lie all the time. Here is a report from 2020 where they swore that they were not starring in a reality show for Netflix. They said they were shutting down those reports, that those reports were completely untrue. And now here we are. Now they're confirming they're part of a reality show, and they're dissing it because they're trying to put distance between them, saying that somebody else is handling all of this, and so it's not the way they would have portrayed it, blah, blah, blah. All right, another blind item came out. I showed you guys the pictures, the setup pap walk that Meghan did, and supposedly people in the stores were instructed not to talk to her. I have no doubt believing that, but I finally figured something out. I kept looking at her outfit going, I've seen this somewhere before. Where have I seen this before? Other than the fact that it looks like she's wearing a huge diaper. I was like, where have I seen this before? And then it hit me. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, MC Hammer. She's wearing pants that look like what MC Hammer wore back in the 1980s. Okay, moving on. All right, so we have one of our bigger stories for today. It was announced that Meghan is going to appear at a special U.S. event that costs $5,000 or $4,430 to attend, and the media is banned. Okay, well, that caught my attention right off the bat. Why would she ban the media? It's called The Power of Women, an evening with the Duchess of Sussex. Okay. So then we go to look at it and we see all kinds of things. And one of the first things you notice is that there is no media and no photography of any kind allowed. Now, Reasonable Voice pointed out that he thinks, or she thinks, whoever Reasonable Voice is, they think that it's because that gives Meghan total control over the photographs for merching. My thought process is she is a one-trick pony who gives these speeches where all she talks about is herself, and that's probably what's going to happen, and she doesn't want people listening and making fun of her for doing the exact same thing again. Now, I guarantee you with 100% accuracy that this group is paying for her travel. They're going to pay for her hotel. They're going to pay for her food. They're going to give her a fee for showing up. So, I mean, for me, I wouldn't donate anything to this group. Why would I want to put money towards her private jet? They said there's $5,000. The cost is $5,000 per table, and $2,500 of that is tax deductible. But they're going to give you $2,500 worth of goods in food, drink, and other things provided at the event. Like goodie bags, like at the Oscars, you know. Well, this is where she's having it done. I'm not kidding. This is the hotel where it's being done. There's like 2 different ballrooms that she can choose from, or 3. You have one that has those chandeliers. You have one that's got these really crystally chandeliers, and then you have one that has no chandeliers, and that's where she'll have to choose from. So once again, she's talking about the power of women, but she's only talking to people who have a certain amount of money and who can afford to go to this sort of thing. Once again, if you don't have a certain amount of money in your bank account, she's not interested in you. I mean, that's pretty obvious at this point, because who can afford in this economy where people are losing their homes to pay $5,000 for a table to listen to her word salad? First of all, apparently she's not the only speaker, but I found it interesting that they're having a rabbi be the moderator for the night. I wonder if they've addressed Harry's Nazi uniform wearing before they did that. Now, I noticed that there's scholarships available, and I think they're not going to have what happened to Harry at the UN happen to her. They're going to load that room with people, even if it's just scholarship people, because they don't want her talking to an empty room. Now, it's being brought up online that apparently Michelle Obama did this in 2018 at an arena, like a huge arena, and she had a sold-out audience with regular ticket sales, and she still managed to raise $1 million. Yeah, apparently Meghan can only get the conference room at a hotel. Johnny boy, I think you're spot on. She went from a $500,000 baby shower with $200,000 in merching to the Indianapolis Marriott. Next, it'll be Motel 6. I agree. She is definitely sliding down the hill. Now, the interesting thing is, I agree with what Resting Dollface said. People are facing losing their utilities, their homes, the gas prices are going up, they're having trouble buying groceries, filling their prescriptions, there's a supply shortage everywhere. But come on down, people, and let's pay $5,000 to listen to a 20-minute word salad speech. That's all about me, me, me. I completely agree with this tweet that came out by Wanda. The only people that can go are those who can afford the $4,000 tickets, and that is not equality for women. I agree. That's, grabbing at money is what that is. And the last speaking event, it says, tell me you're desperate without telling me you're desperate. I think she thought that she was going to be giving speeches for $1 million each, and that has not happened at all. Not at all. All right, let's move on. All right, here we go. The next Archetypes is coming. Guess what it was about? Guess. I told you guys that she's using this podcast to hit back anytime anybody says anything. So now she's digging into the label of being labeled as angry and controlling because that's what they label Black women, she said. Yes, she sat down with Issa Rae, who is an actress and a writer, and during their conversation, and of course they're discussing labels, Issa said she was labeled in the workplace that a colleague had described her as particular or picky, liking things done in a certain way. And of course, almost immediately, Meghan goes, I'm particular, and she says, I often find myself cowering and tiptoeing into a room, and my voice changes so I don't sound quite as demanding. And the thing that I find most embarrassing is that when you're saying a sentence, but the intonation goes up like it's a question, you're like, oh my God, stop whispering, stop tiptoeing, just say what you need, In other words, she's trying to say she didn't bully anybody. Yeah. So Issa goes on to say, I can't lose my cool because I'm Black woman. And now as a public figure, and people are looking for ways to justify their perception. And I want to have that emotion. It's natural. It shouldn't be internalized. So that's something I'm wrestling with. So here we go with the race card. And earlier in the podcast, Meghan had said that she was shocked to learn about the findings from that gender studies professor, Dr. Noble, the one that she gave all that money to and the NAACP award to. And she said that Google was contributing to spreading stereotypes about Black women. Yes. In the opening monologue, she said her findings in this book had my jaw on the floor. She said, and I quote, she established that when you type in a question on the Google search engine, it would try to guess what your question would be, sort of like modern day technology Mad Lib. So to fill in the blank, she's typed, Why are mad women so? And the autofill tries to guess your thoughts. Why are they so mean? Why are they so loud? Why are they so angry? And those are the seeds being planted. The idea that black women must be angry. So here we go with the race card. An angry black woman. We all get hurt and upset, and that's not gender or racial, but there's a trope of the angry black woman persists, and it's being reinforced in ways we hadn't even realized. Yes, she is now attacking Google. Oh my God. Like, we knew it was going to be another podcast, another thing about her, and we knew she was going to throw the race card out, but it's pretty obvious at this point that she is on social media and she's reading the things that are being said about her, and she's attacking back via these podcasts. So when when the Valentine Lowe book came out, remember the one where her attorney sent all those threats saying, don't you dare publish it, and then they published it, and they haven't heard a word since, because you can't fight against something that's true. She's claiming, basically, what she's insinuating is that they just thought I was angry because I was black and it was the tone of my voice, but that's just a stereotype and it's not fair. So I'm guessing we're supposed to just forget what she did to Charlotte at the dress fitting that had her mother in tears, right? I guess because she was not really an angry black woman. I guess we're just supposed to forget about the entire Bridezilla thing that she had going on, because really, it's just because we have this thought that she's an angry black woman. She's not really like that, oh my gosh. But it's the same thing, different day. She drops her her oh, and then she throws in her buzzwords: nuance, layered, multifaceted, and then she'll throw out an anecdote about what happened to her. It's the same thing, different day. And finally, she says, I have to make the choice to be grounded, because basically no matter what I say in archetypes, people are going to say things about it. Which tells you again that she's on social media and she's paying attention to the fact that people are ripping her stuff apart. Now, here's a perfect example. Megan talks about watching Miss Jackson being sworn into the Supreme Court bench. And instead of going, wow, we have an African-American woman on the Supreme Court, it's that judge had to show restraint in the hearings while being questioned by the Republican senators. Because apparently, and we all know from watching these hearings when they're going to pull people onto the bench, we've all seen what they all go through, but somehow she said it was worse for this woman because she's black. You know what I'm saying? I mean, talk about a reach. Now, we are going to finish this off because Cate Blanchett, who we know is a fabulous actress, came out and said that my truth saying is ridiculous, that the truth is the truth, okay? She said that that's just another way of speaking your thought process. She said one of the phrases I just cannot say is my truth, okay? Now, she stated that in drama school, you write everything down a character says about themselves and then what every other character would say about them. And somewhere between those contradictory things lies some version of the truth, okay? She said, the saying it's my truth is my perspective. She goes, but saying my truth, I don't know what that is. And I agree. She says language is so important, and it's important to speak honestly with each other. Now, Neil Sean even mocked the idea of my truth, saying, and I'm quoting, that it represented self-obsession and that my truth matters more than whatever the actual factual situation is. And that's exactly it. So what Miss Blanchett is talking about is called relativism, and that is an ancient philosophical idea formalized, probably they said by Immanuel Kant. So she says, my own personal truth has always been that Kant is unreadable, but my philosophy tutors disagree, so I end up having to read quite a lot. But in a nutshell, relativism is the idea that the truth is about where you're coming from. your experiences, not the actual physical truth. Miss Blanchette said that this whole thing about your truth is nothing but a trendy concept that was started after Oprah used the phrase in her interview with Harry and Meghan, where she said to them, "You're speaking your truth." And that's another reason why the interview has been ridiculed, because Meghan's truth turned out to be a bunch of lies. All right, you guys, this is a very interesting Finn update. So we've been trying to teach Finn, I mean, he knows sit, he knows down, but the stay thing, like we're trying to get him to stay until we release him, if that makes any sense. So we've been working on it, and I wanted to show you what happens the second I say the free word, okay? So just, it's hilarious. He does it every time. So I'm going to show you an example. Watch this. I'm going to show you guys our new trick. Sit. Down, down, good boy. And then I put his treat right there. Stay. Free. All right, once again, lots and lots and lots of information. And you know I want all of your comments, so make them good. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. If you've already hit that button, double check and make sure that you are still subscribed, okay? Don't forget you can follow me on Twitter, Getter, Rumble, and Patreon, and links to all of those are in the description box. If you have donated through my coffee fund or through the thanks button, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.